Sup YouTube? I got a deck tech for a girlfriend's Sliver deck. It's actually really good, and I wanted to hear some input about what you guys would do to change it. But I'll tell you about what works with this and works really well. I've won some multiple games. I've won a lot of games with this actually, more than some of my other, I'd say, more powerful decks. So I guess that means this is just kind of a powerful deck. The commander I chose is the first Sliver because uh, basically the advantage it gives you get two cards for one with a cascade, and then also that kind of helps you with mana, so you can spend 5 mana and then run into like a 3 mana card right afterwards, so you're really getting 8 mana and two cards, so it's kind of like ramp and draw mixed in. It's really, really good. But let's go over the other commanders. So the other commanders that you could use, which I don't think are as good, are the Sliver Queen, which would be a great commander if it was built for that, lots more mana ramp. Sliver Legion, +1/+1. It's kind of like its own little coat of arms. The Sliver Hive Lord, and this is what my girlfriend likes to use, and I like to use it too if I'm playing against people that aren't running as fast decks, because this is a expensive commander and it doesn't do nearly as much. It's still just kind of cool. Alright, so let's get into the support cards here. We've got some tutors, creature tutor, anything tutor, coat of arms, some mana ramp, the sword. This gives everything +1/+1. And then one thing I would like to take out, a couple things and get more of, is this recursion, because people take out your best slivers all the time and then they're just in the graveyard. And then you can't play them anymore. It's really sad. It's a good feel bad. So let's go on to, I have a little bit of a removal package here, just kind of to keep me up and floating. The counterspell, Bandit Charm, running Vindicate. Nev's Disc has always been helpful. Even, like, you just wait until people start bringing you down to nothing, and you pop it to get them back to where you are too. Path to Exile. I will say in the Nev's Disc, it's kind of cool because people see it on the board, and people will either be forced to take care of it or they play differently because it's sitting out there. And this is a new card too, the Winds of Abandon. It's really cheap. I suggest you pick some up. I call it the White Cyclonic Rift. It's basically a 2 mana cost Path to Exile, which isn't bad anyways, because I've used it for just the exile target creature. But it's really great in the late game when you overload it for 6 mana and you exile everybody's creatures except for your slivers, stay on the field, and they get to go grab usually anywhere from 3 to 5 lands. But in the late game, they're usually kind of low in the hand and already have enough land for what they want to do anyways. So unless they're running a commander that takes advantage of having mana, like maybe pumps out tokens or something like that, then it's not the best. But every single game that I've used it, I've been really, really happy to have it. And I think it's super powerful. I'm talking about, like, there is a downside to it, but it's the White Cyclonic Rift. I don't know what to tell you. It's great. I would say, just for me personally, if I'm running a white deck, I would just put it in every single white deck because it's that great. I mean, it is good. All right, let's put some more removal. So the Vindicate and the Maelstrom Pulse are great. Now, these are the slivers that I want to get every single game. I call them the value slivers, and they're the ones that, like, every single game I want to get them quick because they're very good. So we get a little bit of mana ramping here with these guys, which is great. Necrotic Sliver. Every single sliver is basically a Vindicate. Pay 3, sack the sliver, and destroy target permanent. Permanent's nice. A couple things in playing this deck I realized, and I'm pretty new to EDH too, is that flying is super good in EDH, because one, having flying indestructible blockers is great, but a lot of people don't have flying because they try to get creatures with effects, so they're usually low to the ground, and this has been really nice. So the Wing Sliver gives them flying. This is some card drawing. Whenever a sliver deals combat damage to a player, you get to draw a card. Shroud Sliver, super, super good. Double Strike, it's really good once the coat of arms is out. Harmonic, this is basically an aura shards put on a sliver, so all slivers, when it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact enchantment. Super, super good against, like, Urza deck. It's crazy if you get it early. This one is underrated and really cheap. It gives them flying and haste, and I want to talk about haste too. So I run multiples that give flying and multiples that give haste, because one of the things that is underrated in this format is haste, because like you play your say you play your badass Cascade Sliver and it's out and you cascade into something cool. You're like, all right, next turn I'm gonna be able to I have all this mana. I'm gonna cascade 4 times and get my board set up, and it's a 7/7 Sliver, and then it doesn't have haste. So as it's going around the board, everybody sees this giant 7/7 Sliver that's gonna help you out. So they immediately they kill it before you even get to use a chance to attack with it, which isn't the worst, because then it goes back to your command zone. It pops back in, and then you get to use the cascade again. But yeah, the haste is so good. It's so good. I would when I get to the lower value slivers, I'm gonna probably try those out for anything that'll give me haste. Lifelink also really good in this deck because it's aggressive. You take a lot of hate and you go down in life pretty fast. Some more haste. Heart Sliver, no summoning sickness, old wording. Venom Sliver, they all have Death Touch. It's on the defensive end. The flying, the Death Touch, and the indestructible, it gives you that defense. And if you can stack Vigilance, you're like it's crazy because you see some of the best cards in Magic are like, well, this is a 5 to play 4/4 flying Vigilance Death Touch, and you're like, whoa, that's a cool angel. But eventually, all your slivers kind of become those, which is really good. This one is probably my favorite by far, and has won me a lot of games. Slivers can't be blocked except by slivers, so you just go through, and then this pairs well with so many of the cards in this deck. Like whenever a sliver hits a player, it gets a +1/+1 counter. Whenever a sliver hits a player, you get to draw a card. You know, those types of things that just makes, besides the fact that you're going to be swinging in for like, you know, once you get your coat of arms out, you know, 25 damage on a swing. Really, really good. This one gives them flying, and whenever they die, they get to be put on top of your graveyard. So usually I use the flying from this, and I've used it just to save a couple of my bigger pieces. I love this card. And we're going into the low value slivers, and these are the ones that I would probably be more likely to take out. But they're good still. I mean, all the slivers in here are good. There's just better slivers, and there's better cards that aren't slivers, because I don't know if you noticed from my other package, I run more slivers than anything else. You know, there's not a lot of card draw in this. There's not a lot of anything other than just slivers. So, cleaving. Whenever a sliver deals damage to a player, put a +1/+1 counter on it. This one is weird. It lets you look at the top. It lets you scry your opponent's so you can like say, ah, you don't get that card. Vigilance, and like I said, these are all still good. They're good. They're just not one of those ones where you get in and you're like, oh fuck, now it's, you know, now it's getting crazy. The Looting Sliver. Modern Horizons really helped everybody out. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, a lot of these cards are from Modern Horizons, but it's just crazy how many good slivers they have. This one's kind of cool. Hopefully it'll focus in here. Yeah. So you can block with your indestructible slivers, and when they take damage, it deals that much damage to target player or planeswalker. So they're trying to hit at you with an 8/8. They're going to take 8 damage from it. That's another one of those defensive slivers. Honestly, maybe I put it in this pile because I haven't been able to use it because nobody's been attacking me when I have my slivers, because generally they already have Death Touch or Indestructible or something. So like, I haven't really got to use this yet. So maybe this belongs in the more value slivers pile, but so far I don't know. And then I think one of the last piles besides land is ramp. So this is how we're ramping out. We got the Urza's Incubator, making them cost 2 less. Darksteel Ingot. So this is pretty, you know, you're going to see a lot of stuff that you guys are already guessed, I'm sure. I want to go more into green instead of artifact. I just don't have a lot of the green cards, and I had a lot of the artifacts around. Because of the Modern Horizons. I just got a ton of Modern Horizons packs. So the Talismans. And then there's slivers too. There's a couple green slivers that give you, you know, ramp from your slivers being able to be tapped as mana. Rakdos. Tiny bit of card draw, and it's not even good card draw. It's just really good when you. I keep these in here because you're gonna play two drop slivers, and then you have something to cascade into, and it's really cool when you can cascade into something with the 2 drops. And it's actually really cool. This one's probably my favorite to 2 drop into, because you can scry 2, and the next time you play a sliver, you know what you're going to cascade into. So you're like, all right, I've had it happen where there's a Demonic Tutor, and I was like, I'm going to stick that in next, play the next card, and then next time I play a sliver, I'm going to be able to Demonic Tutor for free. So it's really cool. And then lands. I call these the Rainbow Lands. Rainbow. And the land base works great. I haven't had really any problems with it, and it's not crazy with like I've seen people running like 10 fetch lands and 10 shock lands, which to me doesn't seem really like you need to do that. I'm not going to show you the basics I run, but I run about 4 of each basic, maybe a little more for some and less for other. I use these the Khans of Tarkir and Shards of Alara lands, and they're fine. I don't know how much of an improvement using like fetch and shocks would do, but I'm sure it would. I mean, I'm sure it would improve it. Just haven't really needed it. And I do use shock lands. Not a lot of, no fetches, really. Except for, I guess, the Prismatic Vista. I have 3 shocks. And then just scry lands and pain lands. So nothing crazy here. Let me see. Battlefield Forge. And like I said, I'm not going to go over the basic lands. But that's it. So tell me what you guys think. Is there any slivers that you think I should know about? Because there's about 8 slots in this deck that I could pull something out and put something in. And not only that, it doesn't have to be slivers. I mean, you could just tell me anything that would be good in a sliver deck. Right now, I'm looking at some ways to draw some cards and maybe some ways to get things back out of the graveyard. Because currently, I only have 2 cards that help with things going into the graveyard and me wanting to get them back. Because some cards, once they're in the graveyard, I just miss them. They're like, the slivers can't be blocked except for slivers card gets in the graveyard, it makes me want to cry at the table. So anyways, thank you guys for watching, and I'll be checking out my messages. I'll check on the video, see if I get any notifications if you guys comment, but let me know what you guys think, and thanks.